Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling the absolute ultimate product management challenge: how to make good, solid calls when you just don't have all the information. We are going to break down exactly how the best in the business navigate uncertainty.
Okay, let's dive into this. Picture this exact moment. Every product manager knows it intimately. The data is totally inconclusive, but your stakeholders, they want an answer by Friday. Your discovery phase is maybe 2 weeks in, which is nowhere near the 2 months you'd actually prefer to have. The clock is ticking, the anxiety is real, and you have to decide whether to build the thing, kill it, or beg for more time, knowing full well they might literally laugh you out of the room.
This kind of intense pressure tends to split a room in two very different ways. First, you have the junior PM reflex. They freeze up, they escalate to leadership, panic, and run a 3-week survey that ultimately answers the wrong question entirely. But then you have the senior PM reflex, which is completely different. They just decide. They accurately weight those incomplete signals and they confidently commit to a direction. And here's the crazy part. They don't do this because they have more data. They almost always have less. They do it because they've developed a quiet superpower called product intuition. Let's break down what that actually entails.
Section 1. Product intuition and what it actually is.
So, right out of the gate, we need to clear up a pretty massive misconception. Product intuition, it's not some fast, unexamined gut feeling. Gut feelings are just unconscious pattern matching, and honestly, in new markets, they are often flat out wrong. True product intuition is calibrated judgment. It means you've trained yourself to know exactly what kind of evidence you're looking at, how much that evidence is actually worth, and when you finally have enough to pull the trigger. It means that when you are wrong, you're rarely surprised, because you already priced that uncertainty into your decision.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next point in Section 2, the 3 evidence levels. Categorizing signals. Learning to quickly categorize the evidence in front of you is an absolutely fundamental skill. Basically, there are 3 levels. First, we have Level 1, proxy evidence. This is indirect and cheap. Think support tickets or a sudden drop in a funnel metric. It tells you that something is happening, but it doesn't tell you why. Next up is Level 2, observational evidence. This is where your customer interviews and usability tests live. It's harder to get, but it gives you the why. Finally, Level 3, causal evidence. This is your controlled A/B testing. It tells you exactly what will happen. Now, the huge mistake most teams make is over-investing in proxy evidence, or worse, demanding expensive causal evidence for every little feature change.
Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown is how it acts like a cheat sheet for decision-making. Think about a decision that is highly reversible and requires a low investment. You honestly don't need a massive, expensive A/B test for that. You just need some proxy evidence and a strong bias to action. If you're wrong, you can fix it quickly. You only pay the heavy toll for causal evidence when reversibility is low and the investment is high. You've got to match your evidence to your stakes.
Moving on to Section 3, the calibration habit. Tracking predictions.
So how do you actually build this kind of precise judgment? Well, product intuition gets sharper through one very specific and honestly, kind of uncomfortable practice. Before you make a decision, you have to write down exactly what you expect to happen. Make sure it's a falsifiable prediction, not just a vague wish. Then you let time pass. Finally, you come back, check your results, and identify your specific failure modes. Do you constantly overestimate adoption rates? Do you consistently underestimate how stubborn current user behavior is? Knowing your own specific failure modes is worth far more than any complex framework.
To show you what a concrete, falsifiable prediction looks like in action, it sounds exactly like this. If we ship this change, day 30 retention will improve by at least 5% in the cohort that sees it. See how clear that is? It's measurable. There is nowhere to hide if you're wrong, and that high level of accountability is exactly what sharpens your calibration over time.
Let's move to Section 4 and see how this builds. Decoding weak signals. Reading the whispers.
Anyone can spot a massive 40% drop in activation. That's a loud, obvious signal. But the real art? That's in reading the whispers. And the vital first step in decoding these weak signals is separating a raw observation from your interpretation. Like, if a customer says your workflow is confusing, that is a raw observation. Jumping straight to, oh, they want a simpler UI, is an interpretation, and it might be totally wrong. They might just need a better onboarding email. You really have to train yourself to hold on to the raw observation for a minute before desperately reaching for a comfortable explanation.
To effectively decode weak signals, try following these 3 rules. First, as we just talked about, separate observation from interpretation. Second, look for convergence across different sources.
If you're seeing the exact same weird pattern in a support ticket, a sales call, and a user interview all in the same week, yeah, those weak signals are compounding into something real that you need to investigate. And third, ask yourself honestly, what would make me update my view? Because if the answer is nothing, you aren't reasoning anymore. You're just rationalizing.
Which brings us to Section 5, Deciding Without Data, the Reality of PM.
But what happens when the signals just aren't there at all? No whispers, no loud alarms. Well, here is the harsh reality of the job. You will literally never have enough data, and waiting around for it has a very real cost. So the crucial point here is that we're almost always asking the wrong question. We sit there stressing out, thinking, do I have enough data? Instead, the right question is, what is the cheapest test that would change my mind? You have to figure out if the value of getting one more piece of signal actually exceeds the cost of delaying the project. And usually, it doesn't.
Think about it. If a quick 1-hour customer call or a 5-minute proxy metric check will genuinely change your mind, go do it right now. But if the absolute cheapest test is going to take 3 months of gathering causal data and your decision is low stakes and easily reversible, you need to decide right now. Use those next 3 months to actually learn from reality instead. Because if absolutely nothing will change your mind, you aren't waiting for data. You're just avoiding accountability. Make the call and own it.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 6, the Senior PM Reflex, Quiet Confidence.
All of this culminates in the ultimate signature of finely tuned product intuition. And it's not about projecting some blind, unwavering confidence. It's actually much quieter. It's about knowing exactly where you are in the evidence stack. It sounds exactly like this. I'm about 65% confident this is the right call. The thing that would move that to 85% is one more round of customer interviews on the activation flow. If they confirm what I'm seeing, we build. If they contradict it, we need to understand why. That's not a hedge, guys. That is a clear, modeled behavior of someone who knows what evidence is needed and whether it's actually worth getting before making a move.
And just to put into perspective why this matters so much, a striking 59% of product managers recently told the Pragmatic Institute that strategy is the single most important skill they'll need for the next 3 years.
And you know, they're absolutely right. But here is the massive catch. Strategy without calibrated judgment is really just a bunch of pretty slides. The data is always going to be incomplete. It's your calibrated judgment that makes the strategy real. That judgment is what ensures that when you do make a bet and you end up getting wrong, you're wrong in a highly informative, useful way rather than an avoidable one. But at the end of the day, the call still has to be made. That Friday deadline is still looming. So I want to leave you with this one provocative question to ask yourself the very next time you feel completely paralyzed by uncertainty. What is the absolutely cheapest test that would change your mind today? Figure that out, make your call, and go learn from reality. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and keep building that intuition.